A VHS cassette once changed my life. I rented Hellraiser 3 when I was 12 years old, back when you could do that. Put it in, popped it in, was excited to watch it, and before the movie started, there was a commercial for something that immediately caught my attention.
Journey to the dark side and discover an exclusive video offer available only with a rental of Hellraiser 3.
We have such sights to show you.
A documentary about the creator of Hellraiser, Clive Barker. And in this commercial, there were, obviously clips from the documentary, him talking about his writing. Now, as a 12-year-old who desperately wanted to be a writer when he grew up, this caught my attention because I had never heard a writer talk about his craft. So I wrote down the address. You didn't go to a website back then. You wrote down an address, stuck some money in an envelope and sent it off. And you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait. Nobody sends you a tracking number for you to keep track of. You don't know if they even got the check, if the mail lost it. You just have to hope that it goes through. And it did. And one day I opened up the mailbox and there is my copy of Clive Barker, The Art of Horror. Clive Barker, since the day that VHS cassette arrived in my mailbox, has been my primary influence as a writer. Even though now, today, my writing is very, very different from his. The subjects I tackle are very, very different from his. But there was a good 10 to 15 years where I desperately wanted to be him. Everything I wrote after I saw that VHS cassette was aping Clive. Check out Manic Expression, a collection, in the link below. You'll find plenty of horror stories where it's like, well, okay, that's clearly a Clive Barker influence. It's amazing. I was a different person at the end of watching that for the first time. I went in and, I'd been writing for years and years, since I was 5. And you wrote the things that you would write from between the ages of 5 and 12. I wrote silly stories and comics and attempts at something scary or grown up when I didn't know at all what that meant. I always did it, I think, with some trepidation. I was a kid. You never know when mom's going to start rifling through your stuff. So I kind of held back a lot. And I'm watching this documentary, and Clive Barker says,
if you do have an original vision, however outre it is, however erotic, however dark, however forbidden the imagery is, I think people have an appetite for it. So I always say, just get on and do it.
And it was like somebody gave me permission. It was like somebody took the leash off of me. And, I tried writing a lot of stuff, again, trying to ape Clive. Clive writes a lot of very erotic stuff. And when you're 15 and a virgin and know nothing about sex, the stuff you're going to write is going to be relatively cringeworthy. But I kept at it, and I kept trying, and I kept writing. Other influences came in as I got older. Other things got added to the stew. Through it all, nobody at all, of all the writers that I admire, ever really got through to me the way Clive did. Now, if you're looking for, behind-the-scenes stuff on Hellraiser, you actually don't get as much on the stuff that succeeded as you do on the stuff that failed. He talks more about Rawhead Rex, and then he talks about the things that influenced him as an artist, a filmmaker, a writer. This guy does it all. He does everything. He expresses himself more freely than anybody that I have ever seen in my life, in a way that I could only, still to this day, hope to aspire to. He really just bears it all. Sometimes literally. He also does photography. This man, absolutely, more than any other artist, filmmaker, writer, doesn't matter, influenced who I am. And to listen to him speak with such eloquence, not just about horror, but about Greek mythology.
In the Greek myths, for instance, which were really the first myths that I looked at seriously, are not troubled by personality. They're into some more absolute place. And that was always what fascinated me.
And literature, all these things that sort of blew my little mind at 12. I didn't barely know how to process them.
We love life, but I don't think we love it quite as much as we think we do. I think there's large parts of our spirit that yearn to be out of life, and that doesn't mean into death. Out of being, the business of being, the business of feeding, the business of shitting, tiresome business.
I didn't understand them, but I wanted to, and so I started paying attention. I started studying. I started listening more, and that is how you become a writer, is paying attention to the world around you and listening. And I have Clive Barker to thank for that. He got me out of my own head. He got me out of just looking at, what was immediately in front of me, and start looking at the world and everything in it, and the beauty and the horror, and how the horror could be beautiful.
The deluge descended in the driest July in living memory. But then, no revisionist dream of Armageddon is complete without its paradox. Lightning appearing out of a clear sky, flesh turned to salt, the meek inheriting the earth, all unlikely phenomena. That July, however, there were no spectacular transformations. No celestial lights appeared in the clouds, no rains of salamanders or children. If angels came and went that month, if the looked for deluge broke, then it was, like the truest Armageddons, metaphor. There are, it's true, some freakish occurrences to be recounted, but most of them take place in backwaters, in ill-lit corridors, in shunned wastelands among rain-sodden mattresses and the ashes of old bonfires. They are local, almost private. Their shockwaves, at best, made gossip amongst wild dogs. Most of these miracles, however, games, rains, and salvations, were slipped with such cunning behind the facade of ordinary life that only the sharpest sighted, or those in search of the unlikely, caught a glimpse of the apocalypse, showing its splendors to a sun-bleached city.
I cannot recommend this enough. This is a 5-star rating. If I could give it 6, I would. Clive Barker, The Art of Horror, is one of my most treasured possessions, the VHS cassette. I urge all of you to go. You're on YouTube right now. You're watching my video. Type in Clive Barker, The Art of Horror. You'll find it. Watch it. 30 minutes of your life. And if you are an aspiring artist of any kind, you will find something to inspire you.
If we care about the craft we're involved in, we care about it because it can communicate to large numbers of people. Because it has some power to change the world. I'm not interested in art if it can't change the world.